Attention everybody, the views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits.
And good morning. It is Friday. It is still Friday. It doesn't matter what's going on in this crazy old world. I'm your host, Johnny Rooster, and you're listening to the Morning Mouth, only on Acts Media Group Live. I have a very special guest this morning. It is none other than Megan Herrera. I wanted to say your name wrong. I wanted to botch it up. So
I think you did a great job.
Thank you. Megan, tell us who you are and what you're all about.
Sure. So I am the executive director of the Rainbow Network that's here in Springfield, Missouri. This is our 25th year of working basically in community development in rural Nicaragua.
You don't look a day over 26.
Thank you very much.
25 years. You started young.
I did, very young.
Personally, how long have you been involved in Rainbow Network?
So I first got involved as a volunteer in 2004 through my home church in Northeast Missouri and volunteered for several years. And then I just joined staff about 8 years ago as a development director and then moved into the executive director position about almost 2.5 years ago.
If you're just tuning in and you're wondering, why in the heck are you talking about something that ain't political? Well, that's just the point. If you want to talk politics, just tune into any other outlet. They're all over the place. They're yapping it all the time about the politics. Yes, sir. But you know what Johnny Rooster does? He puts on the jacket just like any other biggity wig, and he just covers up the old checkered shirt just like some old good old boy, and we talk sense about some things that make sense. You see, the Morning Mouth isn't just about something you hear everywhere else. It's all about people and communicating ideas of compassion. If you'll remember, last month on this show, we talked to people with Breast Cancer Foundation because it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We talked to people from the Family Violence Center known because it was Family Violence Awareness Month. But this time, it's November, we're talking to something that has nothing to do with November. Talking about compassion down in Nicaragua, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have a specific month for this.
We don't.
But is there a fund drive that you do a push once a year, or is it different for you?
We obviously fundraise throughout the entire year, but usually through October till the end of the year, we have a matching fund. So currently, any general donations that we receive, they'll be matched dollar for dollar up to $50,000. So
wow! So you've been going. This is Rainbow Network. Mm-hmm. If you describe your mission, what would it be? Like if you could say it in a sentence, or do you have a mission statement, or
Sure.
what would they want to know about it?
So our mission is to share the love of Jesus Christ with Nicaragua's poorest people through programs in healthcare, education, economic development, and housing. So it's a holistic approach to helping communities pull themselves out of poverty.
Wow. So it's not just one group, it's a community in
Correct.
Nicaragua that's pulling out of poverty through these assistance.
And not only do we work in one community, currently we're working in 166 communities throughout rural Nicaragua.
Folks, we sometimes minimize how big this could be. We talk about our community. She's talking 166 communities. Imagine managing an effort to do that for 25 years. That's the scope of the Rainbow Network. I used to think of Rainbow Girls. Have you ever heard of them?
I have not.
They had this group of screaming Rainbow Girls, and there was a club. It's like a glee club. We had a rock concert in the 80s, and these girls were just screaming their heads off. Best audience ever, Rainbow Girls. But this has nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that.
Rainbow Network, did that come from a specific concept to call it Rainbow Network?
Sure. So if you recall at the beginning of Genesis with the flood and Noah, God presented this rainbow as a sign of hope and promise.
Yes.
And so that's where our name came from.
You got to have hope. Think about how strong that is in our culture right
Absolutely.
now. We're hitting it right. We might be saying, Rainbow Network, it's compassion for Nicaragua. How does that help me during this political season?
Right.
Absolutely. It has everything to do with hope, doesn't it?
Absolutely. There's one thing that I've learned over my time working with rural Nicaraguans is that no matter what they face, they always have hope. And they've faced civil unrest, they've faced earthquakes, and just this week they were hit by a hurricane. And yet they always know that while today is hard, tomorrow's always going to be better.
Listen to that. While today is hard, tomorrow's always going to be better. You think about that in your personal life. Americans yakety yak all the time about stuff that really hacks them off and makes them angry or incites them. Nicaraguans in rural Nicaragua, they don't have that luxury of voicing all of this stuff on the public.
They don't.
And they just go through it, and they have hope. One thing I wanted to tell you, Megan, I visited down in Latin America. I was in Ecuador in 1999 with a missions group from my church. And what we saw there was a staggering amount of poverty, an unbelievable lack. And so I'm a younger person at the time. It's 1999, so I can take off a few years. And I'm learning about my world this way. I see shelves that are empty in the grocery store. I see a grocery store the size of a very large closet. I see nobody getting anything because they don't have access like we do.
Right.
They don't have the option. I mess up. When I talked to a young youth pastor, I said, you ought to visit the States sometime, just like he's a tourist.
Yep.
He doesn't have that option.
He does not.
We take so much for granted.
Absolutely.
And the end of my journey, we had a medical clinic, and people were holding their children up to the gate. As we closed the gate, it was our time to go. They still had needs. We couldn't fulfill everybody's need. The line started at 1 in the morning, waiting for us to open our clinic at 8 a.m. We had our nice coffee and pancakes. They didn't. So now I'm realizing firsthand what it's like in Latin America with no plumbing and with no electricity. It doesn't look like anything I experienced. Have you been to Nicaragua?
I have been several times.
And what have your experiences helped you understand, and what do you communicate about those?
Sure. So, just like you saw, and you see throughout the world, there's poverty everywhere. You see throughout rural Nicaragua, you see mud and stick put together to create a home. You walk into those homes and you may see 3 or 4 pieces of clothing, and so they don't have many clothes to wear. They may not have shoes to wear to school, let alone the supplies or the transportation to get to school. They have no medicines. They have no food. Everything is a day-to-day thing, but one of the things that I have always been encouraged by is while we have access to so many things here, sometimes we lose sight of the thankfulness that we have and the gratitude that we have for those things. And the people of rural Nicaragua have really encouraged me in my faith because they truly understand what it means to rely on God for their daily bread.
Wow, and they have to.
They have to.
You don't have the luxury of deciding you're okay.
Right. But one of the things that I love about Rainbow Network is that we're very unique in the sense that it does not require any North Americans to be in Nicaragua for our work to continue.
Oh.
So currently we have 43 staff in Nicaragua that are all Nicaraguan. And so they are continuing the medical clinics, they're continuing the nutrition centers, they're continuing the education, the economic development, the housing programs, even without us being there. So while I used to travel almost every month because of COVID, I haven't been since March. We still have 48 houses that are being constructed right now. We still have medical clinics, at least 18 per day medical clinics throughout these rural communities, and all of these things just continue.
You have a list of some things. I didn't want to leave anything off. I would like to hear from you what things that you would like to share.
Sure. So that was one of the things that really makes us unique is that it doesn't require us being there. We are truly empowering not only the rural communities, but we're also empowering 43 other families as they have a decent job through Rainbow Network. And I'll tell you that our staff has the same heart that any donor would have here to help their own country become a better place. And they care and work diligently. They're so resilient, like I said, throughout earthquakes, throughout civil unrest, and throughout this hurricane this week. They're working countless hours just to make sure that all the needs are being met in these communities. And so that's one of the things that I cannot say enough. The other thing is that because we are so holistic in our approach, there's a way for everybody to get involved. You find people that are interested in medical missions, you find people that are interested in construction or education, and we have ways for people to get involved with really any interest that they have. We also have stateside opportunities for them here to do container collections where they're collecting clothes and school supplies and shoes and things like that, and helping us sort and pack those. So there's something, like I said, for everybody, really any age, to get involved in some way. The thing that I love and the thing that brought me to Rainbow Network as a volunteer first was just the relationships that you're able to build. So oftentimes you give money and you never know who you're helping, or you never really know the impact of it. Through Rainbow Network, you're not only able to partner with a specific student or with a specific patient. Now we have churches and individuals that are partnering with specific communities and building that relationship. So it's not only just sending money to some far off land, but it's essentially becoming their extended family.
Wow.
And so it's a very unique opportunity.
But you were saying, sorry to cut you off, but I just think that sometimes on a live broadcast, if one person does all the talking, they start tuning out. So I just have to realize, stop, don't scroll past. We're really here, and we're really talking about the Rainbow Network, which matters because they are contributing, but you don't have to be there in Nicaragua to make the difference. Now that you have locals facilitating the operation, how are the Americans involved? You're suggesting there's relationships being built, like a second family. How does that feel when you're so far away geographically?
So thankfully we're still able to send boxes via FedEx, so people are writing letters back and forth. Thankfully technology has become an even bigger piece of who we are this year, as we're able to set up Zoom calls between donors and their community that they partner with.
That's very COVID of you.
Yes, very COVID of us. And so they're able to continue that relationship and to continue that connection that they have, and seeing and hearing face to face.
Are these churches that are communicating via Zoom? Or
Yes.
And they're communicating to communities in Nicaragua?
Yes.
How is the language barrier? Is that a problem? Don't they speak Spanish?
They speak Spanish, but we do have a translator or an interpreter on hand that will help communicate.
Most of my
that
Spanish, it would
conversation.
just be reduced to sign language that wouldn't even make sense because
That
it's
is
not
okay.
Spanish for the deaf either.
We will take care of that.
So you have a system for the language barrier, and you have a way to channel that where people are in front of each other on the screen.
We do.
Is that for a lot of church? Are you looking for new churches to get involved, or who are you looking for now?
We're always looking for anybody and everybody. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we really will work with anyone. None of our work is conditional in Nicaragua, but we'll also work with anyone here. So anybody that wants to make a difference in the world, anyone that wants to have that connection and make a difference through education, through healthcare, whatever it may be, we can find a way for them, and we welcome them with open arms.
So what are some ways they can help? Let's say there's somebody that hasn't been involved and they're
Sure.
interested.
So all of this is on our website at rainbownetwork.org, but you can sponsor, you can go and you can see the students that we have available for sponsorship, and for $30 a month you can send a student to high school. For $50 a month, you can pick out a patient that maybe has some sort of connection to an issue that you have dealt with in your own life or your family's life, or you just want to help that patient, and so you can go on and pick a patient out. If you're interested in the community development as a whole and partnering with a specific community, feel free to reach out to us, and we can definitely connect you with one of those. Like I said, we're always collecting items, shoes, clothes, school supplies, any of that.
Okay, so you've got an individual that can donate money. You can donate tangible items,
Absolutely.
clothing, shoes. You can get involved with your church. You can encourage your church to do it as a group, to be involved and
Right.
show support. You can do it individually. There are many ways to help out in Nicaragua. Now the question would be, why Nicaragua? There's lots of poverty out there in the
Sure.
world.
So our founder is actually a Springfield-based man, and he was a businessman at the time, owning several hotels, and he needed something that he could get to quickly and back quickly because he didn't want to tie up a lot of his time traveling. And so thankfully Nicaragua is a country that you can travel to rather quickly, and at least in one day. And so that was an important piece of it. At the time that we started in 1995, no one was really helping Nicaragua. And so it was important to help people, and that's still one of our values that we look towards as we pick new communities to partner with, is that no one else is helping them. But then also he wanted people to understand the difference between a gift and a loan. So everything that we do has some sort of a payback. So the families are either volunteering hours to run the nutrition centers or the afternoon school programs, or they're paying back the cost of materials for the home that they're getting. But there's nothing that we do that's a handout. We're doing everything to instill that pride and that dignity in the people, and give them that ability to lift themselves up.
Well, that's great. I noticed when I was in Ecuador, I took a mission trip with my church, and I started giving stuff out to kids because it felt good for me. But this isn't just a handout. This is a partnership. This is a way to show responsibility in that community,
Right.
to allow them not just to be takers, but to also be givers. Are there some conversion stories? Are there, in Christian terms, we talk about people finding Christ as their Savior. But are there remarkable stories of how people's lives have changed in Nicaragua because of Rainbow Network?
Absolutely. So you have, you can almost go to every community and find a story of someone that wouldn't be alive today if it weren't for Rainbow Network.
It's a life and death thing.
One of the people that always stands out in my mind is a young lady named Dory Luce. And when we found her, she was 3 pounds at 3 months old. Her mom and dad had abandoned her and left
It's hard to
her with
imagine her being
grandmother.
alive.
Right. And so the only way that they knew that she was crying was because of her body actions, but she was so
Wow.
weak that no voice could come out. And so no tears, no nothing. And so her grandmother hopped on this bus with a bunch of gringos or white people that she had never seen before and never really been in a moving vehicle, but she knew that she had to take this chance to save her granddaughter's life. And so she jumped on the bus with our staff. And at the time, we were doing triage with medical and nutrition, and she got her granddaughter, Dory Luce, the help that she needed, and we nursed her back to health. 2 years ago, she was actually able to graduate high school.
Oh, wow.
And so she went through our education, through our nutrition programs, all of that, and now she is becoming an active member in her community, leading the efforts and the change in her own community.
Now, her grandmother picked her up as a frail baby and took her. How did the grandmother know that option existed to get help?
Because there was, like I said, there was a bus going down the road just kind of finding people that needed help. And she found out kind of at the end of that process as the Rainbow Network staff was getting ready to leave her community. But she knew that was the one last opportunity that she had to save her
So
granddaughter.
word of mouth in the community is, hey, there's this bus of Americans and they're helping people.
Absolutely.
Where did the bus take her? What was it?
Just down to the next community.
And then what did they?
And
How
then
did
we
they
had-
offer her
We had
life-giving support?
a doctor
Okay.
on that bus, and we had some food, and so we did regular checkups with her and make sure that she had the nutritional needs that she needed.
So does the Rainbow Network still travel by bus to communities like that?
Now we have trucks, so we're located in 9 geographical regions throughout the country, and each one of those regions has an office. They'll have a manager, an education coordinator, a doctor that are out in these communities on a regular basis. But one of the most important things that we do is we set up a community committee of 10 to 15 volunteers, and we teach them how to run the programs. And so
Wow.
again, it's not even our staff that's out there doing the work, but it's the community doing it for themselves.
Well, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's more effective than the U.S. government. We said it right here. I said it right here because the government has a lot of great programs. They throw in a lot of money. But when you come down to compassion, the body of Jesus Christ makes the difference.
Absolutely.
That's the church in action.
Absolutely.
Right there. It's the rainbownetwork.org.
Right. And I'll point out, too, people are often questioning how effective a community or an organization like this
Okay.
is. Our 2019 numbers that came back,
Yeah.
6.7% of the money that's given stays in the U.S.
Okay.
So 93.3% of every dollar that's given goes directly to run these programs.
With all that, almost the full amount. I mean, such a small scale in the U.S. How do you operate? How can you survive with that small of amount to operate?
We have 4 staff in the U.S. that are doing all of the fundraising and all of the management and the oversight of things, and we work very extended hours.
Wow.
But we're all very dedicated, like I said, here and in Nicaragua, dedicated to making sure that this work continues.
We're talking on the Morning Mouth with Megan Herrera. She's the executive director of the Rainbow Network in Springfield, Missouri. It's a compassion ministry that reaches
59,000.
59,000 residents down in Nicaragua, an impoverished country, in the rural part of the country, no less, the most extreme poverty you can imagine, and has been doing so for 25 years.
Correct.
Your fundraising efforts, however, they're not limited to 1 month, such as other organizations I talk to. They have an awareness month, and they do a push. Salvation Army's coming up for their push. How do you raise support?
A lot of it is just by word of mouth. So a lot of our donors are so invested in this through these relationships that they've built with people in Nicaragua that they'll share it with their friends and family. Opportunities like this to get out in the Springfield community and beyond. We work with several churches that are able to share the opportunity with their congregations. And so it's very organic but very relation focused. And like I said, we find any way that we can to build that relationship and keep people invested for the long haul.
So what do you want to say to people watching this either live or on another time? What should they take away from this? What action can they take now?
Rainbow Network is one of the most effective ministries that you can invest your dollars in. It's making life-changing opportunities available for Nicaraguans on a daily basis. And like I said, we're so resilient through earthquakes, through hurricanes this week, through civil unrest. We're still able to continue our work each and every day and truly empower and uplift rural Nicaraguans. And so there's an opportunity for everybody to get involved, whether you're interested in medical, whether you're invested in economic development programs, education, housing, nutrition, anything. We are happy to get everyone involved.
You're listening to Megan Herrera. She's the executive director for the Rainbow Network. If you go to rainbownetwork.org, you can see that on the screen now. Whether you're watching this live or if you're watching it at a different time, the need is there all year long, and it's a growing network. I am assuming that you're looking to You've made great connections, in fact, extremely important connections in Nicaragua. Are there political things or governmental things that get in the way of your operation over time?
Thankfully, no. So one of the things that we always do, we don't care who gets the credit for this work because it's all God's work. And so, we will partner with the government any way that we can. We have good relationships with each of the mayors. We work in 19 different cities throughout the country, and so those 19 mayors are aware of everything that we're doing. You're saying 19
cities in Nicaragua?
In Nicaragua.
Okay,
And so we're working with those 19 mayors. We're working with the government at the national level. They're aware of what we do, and I appreciate the help that we're doing, and so they're
does
allowing
it
us
feel
to
like
continue
to them
our work.
like a Red Cross, or does it feel like something entirely different? What does it feel like to the recipients?
To an extent, but if you think about the Red Cross, oftentimes it's relief work, whereas this is more restorative and longer term.
With the relief in mind, when there is a hurricane like just happened, do you have responses for emergencies like that?
We do, and so even in our northernmost region that we work in, it's called Ladalia, and we were on an emergency response team with the government to basically be on call at any time with our staff and with our vehicles to go out and help relocate people or get supplies out. And so we had been called upon to do that earlier this week, and so playing a part in this any way that we can. To us, yes, it's good to have a focus. It's good to have specific communities and people that we're working with, but at a time in a crisis like this, we're going to help anybody that we can.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. That's God right there. That's the body. Is this a specific group of people that wants to do this, or is it? What I mean is it a church-based group? Is it something else?
We are faith-based, but we're non-denominational. So we welcome people. We have people of all denominations that are donors, and even in Nicaragua, like I said, our work is not conditional. So we aren't creating a case where they have to convert to a specific belief in order to receive help. And so we'll pray with them and encourage them in their faith, and they know why we're there working, because this is what God has called us to do. But everything that we do is including everybody that wants to get involved.
It sounds like when we hear the term nonprofit, it can be convoluted and mixed up with a lot of things that people are self-serving in their own way and putting a front on with a 501c3. Why is a nonprofit important instead of a ministry, just a ministry? What can you do as a nonprofit?
I mean, any of the donations are tax exempt, and so that's a big plus for a nonprofit. Really, there's not much else that's different for us.
It's not a huge governmental thing for you.
No.
It looks like you it's all about the compassion end of it and the effectiveness of establishing connections in Nicaragua that long-term results.
Right.
And it doesn't look like a bureaucracy, although some 501c3s could claim a lot of involvement with the bureaucracy part of it.
Yes. We've done a very good job of keeping our focus and learning when to say no so that we know what we're good at and we're staying on course to do those things.
So tell us a little bit about you as we wrap up. What are some things that you are about as a person? What brought you here, and what's your background?
Well, I grew up in Northeast Missouri in a town called Hannibal.
Just like Tom Sawyer did,
absolutely.
you know.
Everything there is Mark Twain and Tom Sawyer. Yeah. And so I studied at Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri, worked in insurance for a few years as I volunteered. I actually got involved when I was 18 years old with Rainbow and volunteered for about 8 years, representing them, finding student sponsors, raising money for a housing project, other things like that. And so when the opportunity arose for me to join on staff in 2012, I jumped on board with that and have just been so devoted to this work ever since. I've traveled to Nicaragua upwards of 16 weeks per year.
Wow.
And so a huge piece of my heart is there. My husband, I met him in Nicaragua, and I just truly am through and through Nicaraguan.
Is your husband a native Nicaraguan?
Yes.
And he has dual citizenship now?
He has his green card. He's been here just over 2 years.
Just over 2 years, so not a long time.
Not a long time.
Any other family that you want to remark about? Because
Not at this time.
most of the time when I talk about family, the situation goes political fast. So I just say, let's just talk about something else. How's the weather? But it is fun to talk about things that interest you.
Sure.
Some people talk about their pets, their hobbies. It looks like you're really consumed with this mission of reaching people in Nicaragua. And I wanted to ask if there is something, is it just in Springfield? Is Rainbow Network just out of Springfield, or do they have multiple locations in the U.S.?
We only have an office here in Springfield.
Wow.
But we work primarily through the Midwest. We have some support in almost every state. We have a donor of some sort, but a majority of our support does come from Springfield.
How do you go contacting potential donors?
It's become more difficult because people get asked so many times for different organizations. So like I said before, it's...
Can I have some money?
Exactly.
So what do you do?
So it's more organic. We encourage our current donors to help us open doors for new avenues of revenue.
Is there an example of how that's done?
Sure. So we have a church in Lee Summit, Missouri that actually... They got invested. They didn't drop a single mission in their church, and they've been able to fund 4 housing projects, which is 100 homes that they've been building, plus sponsoring a community over 100 students, and they actually made it a mission of theirs to help us open the doors to other churches. So
and they didn't drop a single ministry. They just kept going full steam.
Once you find the heart of people and they can see the impact that you can make, they're going to get involved.
Did you hear that? Once you find the heart of people, you're going to get involved. You want to get involved. Go to that site. It's called rainbownetwork.org. We're talking to Megan Herrera. She's the executive director. We're going to say adios for now. Our time is up from this segment of the Johnny Rooster Morning Mouth with our guest, because we have another guest coming up here, and we'd like to introduce that. It's an absolutely different topic than this one. So that's why you just got to hang on, grab yourself another water, a cup of coffee, or inject yourself with insulin. Whatever you got to do, hang on to this next part. Hey, I'm talking out of different people's experiences. Everybody's got their thing. That's what they do. Looks like we got 2 guests for the price of 1.
Only one's gonna.
Mom's like, no way. Wait, that's your sister, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, got to go there. Got to go there. We are the Johnny Rooster Morning Mouth with Axe Media Group, and we thank our guest here as she takes her exit. Please don't forget to vote for me for the best show ever. Vote for me for the best show ever. I got 1 vote, mine, and I'm working on my wife. She's not quite there. She's on the fence. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You've been a wonderful guest, and thanks for matching the background.
Anytime.
It always makes sense to me in the color scheme. I watch TV shows and look at their wardrobe and I say, wrong color for that set.
There you go.
Thank you, guys. This is the Rainbow Network lady. We'll get her out of here so we can talk to somebody else.
Thank you.
You're awesome. Have a great day. And, as always, before you go, we take a selfie right here. So stand up in front of the wall just to prove that we don't care about the camera on my gut.
They can't see
And we gotta
anything
go
that
to
you're
selfie
doing
mode.
except for like your heads
When
are cut off.
somebody's like over 50, they can't get the selfie mode immediately. They get it secondarily.
Wait for it.
Yay!
All right, I'm
This-
gonna Johnny. I'm
this
gonna let
was-
them look at me for just a minute while you get your guest saddled in there.
All right,
Um,
guest.
I'm
Guests, saddle up. In Guam.
So Matt here, everybody. We're glad to have you guys with us, and thank you for our guest so far. We got one more coming up,
There's so many beautiful women we got on today. It's like, that's not my fault.
and they're back there talking. I want to remind everybody that you can go online to axmediagroup.com and you can check out all the past episodes that we've had, as well as if you want to be able to give to our organization, go to axmediagroup.com and click the Donate Now button. It could be $1, it could be however much you want it to be, but every little bit helps. And helps us to continue to expand our network and expand who we reach out to, because we want to get the gospel of Christ, Jesus Christ, across the world in a non-abrasive way. Here at Acts Ministry and Acts Media Group, we believe in unity in Christ through the Holy Spirit and doing the right thing and serving where needed. So it looks like now we've got our guest ready to go, and Johnny Rooster
because we knew
is
we can say Trump, okay, but we can't say like
I already informed them of the.
We're gonna do. We can say Trump.
No, well, Democrat and Republican.
Democrat and Republican.
We can't
we take
can't
notes?
specify the names.
Okay,
I
we don't
apologize
say-
for the inconvenience, but yes.
Sorry, we
There you
didn't
go.
say Trump.
I'm going to
I
send the
did say
camera
Biden.
over to you guys now. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
All
I
right,
don't
ladies
care
and
if she's
gentlemen,
ready.
back to the action at hand.
We will not stop. We are relentless in pursuit of something different today. It doesn't. I mean, you got a different guest. If you guys tuned in earlier and then you tuned out and then you're back, it's like, how did she change her clothes so fast? Well, it's a different guest. You're still watching The Morning Mouth with Johnny Roaster.
Roaster?
I should be Johnny Roaster.
Are you going to roast me?
Put me in an oven. All right, Johnny Rooster. The reason I got that name is because our engineer, Matt Pearson, Pastor Matt. My name's John Cockcroft, and with a name like Cockcroft, you got a cock, and it's not polite. So you go to Rooster, and it is
I
polite.
actually think I beeped the first part of your last
Yeah.
name for a while,
Yeah, it's
just
like
to
John
be funny.
Beeproft. Yeah, my name was an expletive or vulgarity, but he transformed my life. And now I'm Johnny Rooster, and I'm forever eternally grateful to that human being over there with the multiple tattoos that looks like a bouncer from a really greasy, nasty bar. However, he is not.
Thanks, Johnny.
He's the
I
kind
was
of
like, wow.
He's the kind of guy that would actually warm your heart and
Friends like you, who needs enemies,
he would
right?
actually jumpstart your car on a summer day if you needed it.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Instead of a winter day. As long as the weather was beautiful, he would help you in any way he could. Enough about our co-host who's not on front of the camera. We're going to talk to you. You are don't alarm the audience, but I never met this girl before, this woman. She's a Facebook lady who's ranting, and her rant was so eloquent. It was so beautiful. It was so orchestrated. I thought it was a forward. I thought, you know how people forward posts?
Yes.
And they say this political rant or whatever it is. She had this all calculated out. I mean,
What's
we're
her name,
talking-
Johnny?
Her name, McFall. I'm going to go with the first name. Your name is, what is it? All right, what is your name?
Amber.
Amber McFall. And her hair is amber. I should remember that, right? Isn't that the color? Is amber a blonde, a light color? Amber waves of green?
Amber is
Seriously, the color amber.
Yellow.
I was going to say, I don't feel like I'm an
Well, it's
orange
close,
color.
but it's
If
yellow.
I am, I'm going to contact my
Yellow.
hairstylist
It's
and tell
different.
her.
It's not the color of our existing president.
No.
All right, now really, seriously, you had a very articulate rant. I actually saved it, and I'm going to read it back if you don't. But it was so good. Now, this is an explanation of what's going on right now with our election. It's really goofed up. But some things were happening behind the scenes in advance that
Right.
our president was talking about.
Well, I feel like he's been giving us a lot of his theories of what was going to happen. I feel like he knew a lot of what was going to happen. And so we're just watching it all play out.
Yes, so I'm going to go to your rant. Do you have it
Okay.
on there?
I have it
Go
on
to your
here.
notes. Go to Facebook.
I was like, who's this
I
weird
found this-
guy?
yes, who's everybody asks that. Now, if you're asking yourself, who's this weird guy? You are not alone.
I've asked that question before.
My mom asked
Who's that weird guy?
My wife asked that
This morning, actually.
It was really funny because we were at family
every
dinner.
day. People. Yeah, you're a family. Describe how I interrupted your life.
Okay, well, we were at family dinner and
Peacefully.
I'm like, I just got this message from this random guy.
Yeah, she's having meatloaf. whatever.
We were out at a restaurant. I don't cook, but
She's okay. Go ahead.
I'm
Random.
hungry for meatloaf.
I know. Go ahead. Keep going.
And so I get this message from some random guy, and he's like, "What do you think about the elections?" And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." Like somebody's like messaging me because
Gonna
I am a conservative, and so they're like gonna come at me. So I was ready. Got my game face on.
You were ready.
And so then I responded.
Yeah, you can read it.
You want me to read it?
Read it. Because
Okay.
her response was like, it wasn't like, yeah, this sucks. It was like, here we go. It's like, genius.
I can't say that. I can just say.
Can we say what she wrote or no?
It depends. Don't name Trump.
Okay, don't name
or
Trump.
Biden. Just conservative and liberal or Democrat, Republican.
Just say Republican and
I'm
Democrat.
going to say current president.
Can we do that? Can we do that?
current president.
I want to be respectful.
Okay.
Her response is brilliant. Go ahead. You guys listen with both ears. Stop what you're doing. Put down the cereal or whatever. If you're at work, just tell your boss you're on break. Listen.
Well, don't go to Starbucks. So
Don't hurt yourself. Don't get in trouble.
The line's
Just
terrible.
Please
right
listen
now.
with both ears. This is great.
Okay. So
That's why you're here.
I responded. I firmly believe.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, go ahead. That's really good.
I firmly believe Mr. President knew all of this was going to happen. So he set his trap to catch them and expose the corruption. During Mr. President's 2 a.m. press conference on election night, he mentioned that there would be a dump of ballots coming in at 4 a.m. And they did. So statistically speaking, they said that there was 138,000 votes that came in Michigan, which if you know anything about math, you know that that's statistically impossible, that one person's going to get all those votes. So the Dems kept the mail-in ballots in their back pockets to use when the current president's victory was apparent. Then they stopped the election and they played their card. So I feel like they kept it in their back pockets, and as soon as they saw that our current president was leading, they knew they had to stop it. Mm-hmm. And so this also explains why the Democratic candidate didn't really campaign too much. I mean, we saw him hiding out in his basement, which is what, we talked about a lot. And have you ever met somebody running for president that wasn't out there 24/7?
I found that extremely curious.
It was very odd, and I couldn't quite wrap my mind around that. And then you have Trump, our current president, who is visiting, 3 cities a day, which is very
typical.
It's normal. Yeah,
you're
that's
on the
what you
you're
do.
on the campaign trail.
Yes, you're trying to get as many votes as
I mean,
possible.
people, we're doing this. This is American politics. You're out there representing every day, every moment, 16 hours a day. That's the pace.
You want your face everywhere.
Here's somebody else hiding out in a basement somewhere.
And doing nothing right up until
he
the very end.
He wasn't even at Starbucks because he would have been talked about.
Right.
He wasn't even there.
Nowhere.
And we can't say Starbucks, by the way.
Oh.
I'm not supposed to say that.
But I love them.
I didn't say that.
But I love them.
SB. Go ahead.
I love SB.
Continue your rant. Her
Okay.
reply was, what we're setting up here is just a scenario where I bomb in with a political question because there looked like content that this person, this young lady, Amber, might have something to say, and she did. And here it is. Some more.
So then I told you about, it's weird that he's just hanging out in his basement. Who would hang out in their basement unless they knew that they had this election in the bag, that they were just going to win? And so it's like the Democrats put the mail-in ballots in their back pocket, and then when it came time to pull it out, everything stopped. All of a sudden, the numbers stopped coming in. Mm-hmm. Election just went off, and we were like,
it's like we just pulled the plug. It's over. It's not over, but we're stopping.
We're literally
like,
sitting
stop.
in front of the TV, and we're like, what is going on? Like, this is not
Wasn't it
normal.
about like 11ish? It was not late.
No, I think it was probably like midnight.
I'm watching here. Maybe it's midnight because I'm up for it. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm like 2 a.m. We're gonna know.
That's
right.
me.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
We're gonna stay up as late as we have to because we're gonna find out
we
this is an
usually
important
know
election.
about 1 to 2 a.m. That's real. I've voted in 10 presidential elections. That's how old I am. I know you're saying he looks great for that age, but I'm telling you, this is my 10th presidential election since 1984. I have never seen anything like this. Continue, please.
Yeah. So I just felt like that. Obviously, he knew it was rigged. He knew that they were going to sabotage the election, and so he didn't feel a need to campaign. But I don't feel like that it's over. I don't feel like it's over. I think we're watching this all play out, and I think that it's one of those things where the president's sitting back and letting the Dems hang themselves, so to speak.
Which he should have done during the first debate.
I 100%
He stunk up that first
agree.
debate. He could have just shut up. What he should have done is worn a mask, like with a mute muzzle on it. Because that boy can't shut up.
Yes, that is one of those
I'm going to
things.
say our current president sucks at debates.
Oh, I don't know that I would go there.
He does.
I don't think that I
Because
thought he
just
handled
has to
himself
laugh at
very
his opponent.
well.
He just has to smile and shake his head and just say, let my record speak for itself. That's all he's got to say. And just do it like a robot.
I felt
he
like
would have won.
He handled
that.
himself very well in the second debate.
Yes, but his first
His first
debate was so
I was
unprepared.
like, oh,
he
Mr.
cannot
President.
wing something. He has to be ready.
Yes, I felt like he would have
He was
just
so good with Hillary.
set back.
I can't say Hillary.
Yeah, I feel like if he would have just set back,
He's so good
he
with
would have
Hillary.
let
I can't say Hillary.
he would have let the Democrats like hang themselves. That's what would have happened. I mean, we've seen it time and time again.
People know I have Tourette's on this show. I just spew things out of my mouth into the microphone. And then the management talks to the people that are involved. And that's the
Right.
way this works.
Understood.
I worked for a newspaper. I was a newspaper journalist before the internet. So my career was, my boss pulls in and he goes, he was 28 years old. He's younger than me at the time. I'm so old, I was older than that, even way back. So he's like sitting with his feet propped up. He's like this. He's like, excuse me. He's like this, and he's like, and he's chewing tobacco. He's like, okay, John, just don't get me sued. Don't get me sued. Write all the news and don't get me sued. That's what he did. And he actually collected. Sorry about that. That's
no, I
awful.
just want to make sure you're all
Now,
right.
it's actually, yeah, my age. You got to realize this. He was taking the quarters from the machines that they put in to pay for the newspaper and making it into rolls of quarters so he could make his boat payment. That's all he cared about. He didn't care about the news. He just didn't want to deal with it.
Right.
So he hired me to do all the news, and I did. And I'd write the articles, and I'd draw a cartoon. I love to do cartoons. I love cartooning. So they'd go to that first. It was the Ozark Headliner. I can't say that.
Right.
It's the Ozark Headliner. It's Christian County Headliner News right now in Ozark,
He's wearing
Missouri.
the mute button in his mask that he's
Bleep
just
that
talking
off.
about.
It's
Yeah.
a live show. It's irreversible. Rewind the tape. It's a newspaper in Ozark, Missouri. I can say that.
Beautiful. Yes.
I was the editor, and I got all the news, and I didn't get him sued, but I did get him in some face-to-face with his lawyer from time to time.
Funny. So, side note, since you like cartooning, when I was young, my uncle did some building for the guy who did Garfield, and we got to actually go to his home and
That
see
is
where that all
awesome.
went. Yeah, it was really cool.
When I was substitute teaching once, or the kids in 5th grade said, "You guys, you sound like the Garfield voice." I'm like, I never thought that. In fact, when I played it back, I don't.
I
But
don't
those
hear
5th
that.
graders in Nixa, Missouri, I can't say the school name,
Right.
they thought I sounded like Garfield's voice on the cartoon. I'm thinking, that's really not what I sound like.
No, I don't hear that at all.
It'd be okay if I did, but I
Yeah.
just don't happen to even talk about.
I mean, if you did,
like,
you
let's-
could maybe make a lot of money
we
with
could
that.
say the name lasagna. Does that sound like Garfield?
No.
Lasagna, lasagna. No.
But he loved lasagna.
You can say lasagna on this show.
Oh, good.
In fact,
no mute
if
button
you
for
want to
that.
use the word lasagna instead of a candidate name, that would be okay with me.
By the way, that's a challenge, not saying a candidate's name when we're
I know,
discussing
and I
this.
hate it that we can't say brand names like Walmart.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
right.
They're probably going to kill me.
And I only
This is probably going to be like a noose comes down from the ceiling.
And I only said SB because I tried to go to 2 different ones and the line was so backed up.
Yeah,
And
you
I'm
know.
thinking to myself, doesn't anybody go to work? Like, hello?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost
yeah.
9 o'clock.
I know. I'm amazed at how lucrative their business looks.
I needed some coffee this morning.
You know, Democrats, Democrats, we can say, control SB. You know that.
Yeah.
You're a sellout.
Listen, they have really good coffee, though. But you would be surprised there are employees there that are not Dems.
I would be surprised.
There are.
Did you finish your rant?
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I just, the end,
basically,
the
it's-
end was just,
The president knew in advance.
yes.
There's a lot of references to that. You're not alone, okay?
No, I mean,
not
it's
just
all
one-
over the internet. I'm taking pieces of information that I've researched and found,
Yeah.
and I believe in this. Like, I believe that this is going on. I believe we are watching it play out, and I believe that in the coming days, we're going to, like, see a lot of evil brought to light. And
Amen.
we see it time and time again in the Bible that the Lord just sort of sits back and lets things come to light, and then he makes his move. And I believe that he's going to make his
You
move.
can say Lord and Bible all you want around here. You've probably got the sense that this is kind of a religious-based group.
Which I love.
I'm cool with that. I just don't want to yap about Christianity all the time. It's kind of boring to me to always say, Bible this and Jesus that. But you know what? It's true.
It is 100%
The Bible's true and
true.
Jesus is right. And it doesn't, if I don't talk about it, it doesn't make him less valid.
Right.
Jesus Christ is everything. And his message is still true.
Yes.
But here's some things I've been seeing everywhere. Military ballots will secure Georgia for President Trump. We don't count the ballots we don't want to count. We don't count legal ballots.
Well, look at all of the states that we were winning, that conservatives, Republicans were winning, and they weren't being called.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all over social media and we're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, how do you call Arizona
How do you call
for
it?
the Dems, and then you have Florida here, who he's winning by hundreds of thousands of votes, and we're like still waiting, and they're like 94% in. Like, it's not statistically possible for them to catch up at that.
It's all over the news that isn't mainstream. It says
mainstream.
Detroit woman's vote for the president never counted, but her daughter's vote for Biden was counted, and it was validated. I saw a picture of 5 votes cast. It was on the screen from an election official, and he clicked it because that's technology. We can do this stuff.
Right.
The voters' birth dates are January 1, 1900. 5 voters in a row are 120 years old. It's a miracle! They're older than my great-grandpa.
They're alive!
They're 120, and they're all born on January 1st of 1900.
amazing.
What a year that was, by the way.
Amazing.
Pivotal year. It's a new century. It's a new year. Doggone it. We were born January 1, 1900. We're voting in the 2020 election
They're
because
all
we
in.
can.
Yeah.
I think that's absurd. It's absurd what they're doing. They've made a mockery of our system,
Yes.
and what they did, they took away from the dignity and the validity of the political process.
Right.
We don't trust the courts. We don't trust the political machine. We're out of time. I mean, what are we going to say? I know, because they do 9:50, not 10. They hijack me.
I
the
mean,
last
we could
10
go
minutes.
on all day.
We could,
guys.
but they'll
We
just
could
cut
really
us
go
off.
on.
Everybody stops at 10 till.
Everybody stops at 10. I don't care who you are.
Darn it.
I don't care who you are. So we love people. We want to show compassion. And so even though we feel like it's being derailed, we got to keep faith that God is the founder of this
Right.
nation.
And at
Not-
the end of the day, no matter who becomes president,
Yeah.
we're all going to be okay.
Hear, hear.
The Lord has got our backs.
Amen.
But I'm excited to watch the.
It's fun.
I'm excited to watch this all play out because I feel like it's long overdue.
Choose to enjoy it.
Yes.
Don't get angry.
Get your popcorn
please.
out and
Yeah.
just watch it.
And then realize that you can make a difference in your community by being a better person.
Right.
Don't be hateful of the outcome.
Yes.
Whether you do this vote or that vote, love people.
Yes.
Love God, love people.
Amen. It's
We
not
got
always
it.
easy.
We got
but
it.
We got to
and
do
we
it.
got it all in time and on budget right here, Pastor Matt. We got it in time. This project is concluded at 9:49 and 58 seconds. Thank you. God
Crushed
bless
it.
America.